Hey guys, Jared here, and I've actually had the Z3 or Z3 for my American friends out there for a little while now, but didn't get a chance to review it in time alongside all the other reviews of it out there. But I figured I still wanted to give you guys my opinion of Sony's latest flagship in the form of a mini review. That said, let's be honest, not a lot's changed since the Z2, but that doesn't mean it's any less of an underrated and understated quality smartphone. In fact, just like the Z2, with the exception of the lack of IR blaster and OIS in the camera, it's one of my favorite daily drivers. I mean, it looks great with its understated design, glass on both the front and back, a sexy 20.7 megapixel camera that, believe it or not, doesn't protrude from the back like many other smartphone cameras do, and of course, that spun aluminum power button for that cherry on top. But just like people, good looks don't always stand the test of time too well, and unfortunately that seems to be the case with the Z3. Now, as you can see, the back's pretty scratched up and actually scratches pretty easily, and because it's glass, it's also a fingerprint photocopier. I actually find myself almost obsessively wiping it on my pants or shirt all the time. Luckily though, the front is made of a supposed shatterproof glass, so you shouldn't have to worry too much about breaking the display from the pressure of so many wipes. Now, the waterproofing is still a thing with the Z3, which is actually one of the reasons why I like this phone so much. It's like having an elegant phone that you can still be a little bit rough with and not have to worry about drops, dust, or moisture the way we do with most other phones on the market today. Now, the move to include dual front-facing speakers was carried over from the Z2 to the Z3, which is always a welcomed hardware inclusion, but unfortunately, it doesn't sound like the actual speaker drivers have changed much, if at all. But really, they're not terrible. My only real complaint, other than just wishing it sounded a little bit better, is that when in calls on speakerphone, if I have the volume turned all the way up, there's a terrible distortion, but if you drop it down only one volume level, the distortion immediately goes away. So I think if next time Sony tinkered with the EQ just a little bit more, we might actually be able to get some better overall audio quality. The Xperia software is also pretty much the same, or at least feels the exact same as it did in the Z2. It's not a bad thing, but I just don't want to see Sony fall into that same repetitive, boring hole that Samsung has with TouchWiz. But yeah, I actually enjoy the Xperia UI. It's elegant and minimalistic feeling. That is, until you jump into the app drawer and you see all the value-added apps that Sony packed in that I'll never use. And then of course, if you get your Z3 from a carrier, there's gonna be carrier bloatware on top of all that. And what really sucks, without the help of a third-party launcher from the Play Store, you can't hide or uninstall the Sony apps, just disable them in the apps manager. But with all that, this is a fast and smooth phone, for the most part. Now, it comes with Android 4.4.4 KitKat with the promise of an Android 5.0 Lollipop update in the future. And I really haven't noticed too many slowdowns or stutters or lags, which is similar to the experience I had with the Z2. But I have to say, when it comes to performance, or at least I should say potential performance, I was a little surprised / disappointed that Sony gave it another Snapdragon 801 CPU, just like the Z2 has, an Adreno 330 GPU, again, just like the Z2 has, and 3 gigabytes of RAM, just like the Z2. So other than some minor software and aesthetic design changes, it's still pretty much the same phone as the Z2, which actually makes me question why Sony didn't just wait until they had something more to offer, like an IR blaster, or maybe even an OIS upgrade for the camera, for example. I don't know, it just would have been nice to have something new added, you know? Now, I've been enjoying some of the new features they've included thanks to the new APIs that come with KitKat, like native screen capture recording, for example, but also little things that Sony's added, like the ability to edit the quick settings, and finally, a native flashlight toggle. It's such a small thing, but so important, you know? The display still impresses me. It's actually one of the most color accurate and properly calibrated displays I've ever seen on a phone. However, just like the software, the internal specs, and even the overall look of the phone, the display is pretty much, if not, the exact same 5.2-inch triluminous 1080p display featured in the Z2. I was actually really surprised that they didn't give the Z3 some sort of display tech upgrade to like 4K, for example, or at the very least, upgrade and improve upon the current 1080p panel somehow. But I guess since it's such a nice display, there really isn't much room for improvement. But I guess I'm just looking for, or should I say, expecting something new, but there really isn't much new to go off of with the Z3. So that same 20.7 megapixel camera still, in my opinion, takes some of the best photos I've ever seen come from an Android smartphone. Colors always just look so natural and accurate, and it does a pretty great job at not over-processing images, so you shouldn't have to worry worry about jagged edges or even weird artifacting like I've experienced with even the Note 4's camera. And it even does a pretty decent job of handling low light situations, much better than a lot of its competitors out there. But you know what? Now that OIS is possible on mobile, Sony's really starting to fall behind there, because as great a photo as the Z3 can take, I've never enjoyed the ease of taking pictures more than I have on phones with OIS in their cameras, like the LG G3 and the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, for example. And finally, battery life's been good and on par with its 3100 non-removable battery. 100 milliamp hours less than the Z2 actually, but good enough. Stress testing with Antutu's battery tester, which by the way is an awesome battery life tester that simulates extremely heavy real-world usage, gave me a total screen on time of just over 3.5 hours, from 100% to 15%. But with my normal everyday usage, I can usually get away with about, just over a day with only around 1.5 to 2 hours of screen on time. So again, pretty much on par with the capacity of the battery, and actually by comparison quite similar to what I was able to achieve with the Galaxy Note 4, which actually makes the Galaxy Note 4's battery life look pretty good considering the hardware specs and most notably the display. So all in all, the Sony Xperia Z3 is still one of my top choices for best all-around phones, and an easy choice for a daily driver. However, if you already own the Z2 or are thinking about picking up the Z3, I do have a really hard time recommending the Z3 as an upgrade over the Z2. Anyways, guys, that is it for this one. If you liked the video, do me a solid and tell me by hitting that like button, and maybe even let me know if you think the Z3 is worth it over the Z2 in the comment section below. And if you're new to my videos, maybe even subscribe so you can stay updated whenever I release new videos. But thanks as always for watching, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Cheers.